It all started with tire tracks deep, muddy lines carved right through my front hedges. At first, I thought it was an accident. Maybe a delivery truck backed up too far, or a neighbor misjudged a turn. But when it kept happening, week after week, I realized it wasn't just bad luck. It was intentional. And the worst part, I knew exactly who was behind it. Karen, the self-appointed queen of our HOA. It's the kind of neighbor who sends emails about garbage bins being an inch off the curb, and who treats the neighborhood like her personal kingdom. Karen drove her big SUV like she owned the Rodin, apparently. My lawn, too. Every time I trimmed and shaped those hedges, it was like clockwork. A couple days later, another drive-by, another mess. I tried talking to her politely. I even installed a small sign asking drivers to be careful. She laughed. I said the hedges were too close to the road, said they were an eyesore anyway. Then she rolled up her window and drove off right over the corner of them again. I reported it to the HOA, thinking surely someone would hold her accountable. But surprise, 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 nothing happened. It was like the whole system was built to protect her. So I decided if no one was going to stop her, I would. But not with yelling or revenge, had something smarter in mind. I didn't just want her to stop. I wanted her to know she couldn't walk or drive all over people forever. So one weekend, while she was away at some HOA conference, I made my move. What I installed looked like a normal landscaping upgrade at first glance, but there was more to it than met the eye. And let's just say, the next time she tried to plow through my hedges, she hit a wall. Literally. Now, let me take you back a little and give you the full picture of how we got to this point. I moved into this neighborhood 3 years ago, thinking it was a peaceful community. You know, friendly neighbors, clean sidewalks, nothing too fancy. Just a place to breathe. But that peace started to crack the moment Karen introduced herself with a clipboard in one hand and a list of violations in the other. My mailbox was apparently 2 inches too tall, and my trash can placement was non-compliant. It was like she woke up every day looking for something to complain about. At first, I tried to get along with her. I attended a few HOA meetings, smiled, nodded, tried to be neighborly. But it became clear quickly Karen didn't want neighbors. She wanted subjects. If she didn't like your porch light color, your landscaping style, or the height of your grass, she let you know. And if you didn't fix it right away, she'd fine you. I saw her make a grown man cry once over a wind chime. No joke. So when the tire tracks first appeared, part of me wondered if this was just her twisted way of showing dominance. Like, look what I can do and get away with. She never admitted it, of course, but the smirk she gave me every time. She passed by my house, told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't just careless drive, it was personal. I even set up a security camera, hoping to catch her in the act. But somehow, the footage always missed the moment either it was too dark, or the car sped by too fast. It was almost like she knew exactly how to avoid it. That's when I realized if I wanted this to stop, I couldn't just prove it. I had to outsmart her. After weeks of watching my hedges get flattened like clockwork, the tension wasn't just outside, was getting inside my head too. Every morning, I'd open the curtains, half expecting to see fresh tire marks. It got to a point where I'd hear a car passing and instinctively check the window. And it was always her. That same white SUV, slow rolling by like she was patrolling the neighborhood. A part of me started to question if I was overreacting. But then other neighbors began whispering too. Turns out I wasn't the only one Karen had issues with. Mrs. Lopez across the street said Karen reported her for hanging laundry in the backyard. Ben, 2 houses down, got fined for a birthday party that violated noise rules. Even though it ended by 9 p.m., it wasn't just Karen had a pattern. It's controlling, petty, and somehow always one step ahead. People were tired of her, but no one wanted to confront her. Why? Guess. She was the HOA president, okay? And she played that role like it came with lifetime immunity. That's when I started thinking differently. If direct proof didn't work, maybe I needed to change the way I looked at the problem. I wasn't just dealing with an annoying neighbor. I was dealing with someone who thrived on pushing limits and seeing who'd push back. So while she thought she had the upper hand, I quietly began planning my next move. Meanwhile, I kept hearing weird noises at night, like gravel shifting or a car engine idling for too long. One time, I found small chips in my mailbox post, like someone had hit it, and quickly reversed. I started to wonder, was she testing me, or just trying to scare me into backing off? Either way, it only made me more sure. This wasn't just about Hedges anymore. This was about drawing a line and making sure she couldn't cross it again. So one night, right after another close call with her bumper brushing the edge of my hedge line, I stayed up, sketching out an idea. It wasn't revenge, was protection. And it needed to look harmless enough that no one, not even Karen, would question it. I contacted a friend who did landscaping and concrete work, and I told him exactly what I wanted: a solid, narrow concrete barrier buried just behind the hedgerow, painted and textured to match the soil. From a distance, it would just look like part of the garden border. But up close, it was all business stuff enough to stop a tire cold. We planned the work carefully. The timing had to be perfect. Karen had mentioned in the last HOA newsletter that she'd be attending a regional leadership retreat for 2 days. That was my window. The crew came out at dawn, worked quietly, and by sunset, it was done. No visible fence, no warning. Just a line drawn in silence. Waiting the next day, I trimmed the hedges clean, neatened the mulch, and stood back like nothing had changed. But inside, the air was tight. I knew it was only a matter of time before she made her next move. She never could resist. And then it happened. Late one evening, around dusk, I heard the same low rumble of her SUV creeping past my house. But this time, she didn't stop. She turned her wheel, just like always, cutting that same corner like it belonged to her. Except this time, something didn't sound right. There was a loud crunch, a metallic jolt, and then dead silence. I didn't run out. I stayed at the window, heart pounding, barely breathing. Whatever just happened out there wasn't the end, was the moment everything turned. I stood frozen at the window, watching as Karen's SUV just sat there, half twisted in. The street lights still on, but engine silent. For a second, I thought maybe she'd back up and leave it alone. But nope, she flung her door open, stomped out, and marched straight to my property line. I couldn't hear her, but I could see her hands waving wildly, pointing at the hedges, like they'd just come alive and attacked her. Then she pulled out her phone. I figured she was calling the police, maybe trying to report property damage or something equally dramatic. But what I didn't expect was what happened 10 minutes later. Instead of just a patrol car, an HOA board member pulled up behind her. It was Greg, one of the quieter ones, always kept to himself. Karen waved him over, clearly expecting backup. But the look on his face said something was off. He didn't even make it to the sidewalk before Karen started yelling about the illegal concrete trap I had apparently installed, about how I was endangering residents and how she'd been targeted. Her voice echoed down the street, but Greg didn't jump to defend her. In fact, he asked her one question that changed everything. Why were you driving on someone else's lawn in the first place? That shut her up fast. For the first time, she didn't have a ready-made answer. She glanced between him and the car, then back at my hedge line. But before anything else could be said, another twist came out of nowhere. One of the neighbors, Mrs. Benson, the quiet lady who always wore sunglasses and walked her dog past my house twice A day stepped forward with a flash drive in her hand. She'd been recording dashcam footage of Karen's little drives for weeks now, and she had it all, every turn, every tire mark, even the moment she'd knocked over my mailbox post. And just like that, this wasn't just a neighborhood spat. Anymore, it was about to explode. Greg took the flash drive from Mrs. Benson and plugged it into his laptop right there on the hood of his car. A few neighbors had already started gathering, by then drawn by the sound of Karen shouting and the strange way her SUV was still half stuck against the concrete. The video played with no sound, but the images spoke for themselves. Frame after frame, there she was cutting corners, bumping through flower beds, and driving halfway up onto my lawn like it was her personal shortcut. The final clip showed her full front tire hitting the invisible barrier behind my hedges. Her face said it all when she realized it had all been recorded. Karen turned bright red, flustered and scrambling for excuses, but no one was buying it anymore. Greg calmly closed the laptop, looked her square in the eye, and said, "This is going to the full board." For once, she didn't have a comeback. She got back into her car, but the damage had already been done both to her bumper and her reputation. The HOA board met the very next week. I didn't even have to say much. The footage, the complaints from other neighbors, and Karen's long history of rule-bending finally caught up with her. She was removed from her position as president, and for once, real community voices were heard. People thanked Mrs. Benson for stepping up, and even Greg admitted he'd been keeping quiet too long. It felt like a turning point, not just for me, but for the whole neighborhood. But here's the twist. 2 days later, I got a letter. No name, no return address. Inside was a photo of my hedges and a rock. Just a single small rock, half buried in mulch, circled in red ink. On the back was a note. "Nice wall. But people like her don't give up that easy."